Nelson Mandela, the man who fought for freedom and forgiveness. What does it take to change a nation? Is it power, wealth, or perhaps something far simpler but infinitely harder? Courage, resilience, and the ability to forgive? These qualities defined Nelson Mandela, the man who became the face of the fight against apartheid and a global symbol of justice and reconciliation. Who was Nelson Mandela? Born in 1918 in the small village of Mvizo in South Africa, Mandela was given the name Ralilala, which means pulling the branch of a tree, or more figuratively, troublemaker. Fitting, isn't it? But young Mandela didn't seem destined for a revolutionary path at first. Raised in a royal family of the Xhosa-speaking Thembu people, he was expected to follow a traditional path of leadership. However, life had other plans for him. Mandela's early years were shaped by stories of African resistance against colonial rule. He studied law, becoming one of the first black South Africans to do so, and his experiences in the racially segregated city of Johannesburg exposed him to the brutal realities of apartheid, a system designed to enforce racial inequality and strip black South Africans of their rights. It was here that Mandela's journey as a revolutionary began. What was apartheid, and why did Mandela fight it? Apartheid wasn't just a policy, it was a way of life that institutionalized discrimination. Black South Africans were denied basic rights, segregated from white communities, and subjected to brutal repression. Mandela joined the African National Congress (ANC) in 1943, determined to dismantle this system. At first, Mandela advocated for peaceful protests, inspired by Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence. But the Sharpeville massacre of 1960, where 69 unarmed protesters were killed by police, marked a turning point. Mandela realized that nonviolence alone might not be enough. He co-founded Umkhonto we Sizwe, the armed wing of the ANC, which carried out acts of sabotage against government targets. He wasn't advocating for violence against people, only against the oppressive system. Why did Mandela go to prison? In 1962, Mandela was arrested and charged with sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government. During his trial, known as the Rivonia trial, he gave a speech that became legendary. He declared, "I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment and spent the next 27 years behind bars, most of them on Robben Island. Imagine being locked away for nearly 3 decades, isolated from your family, friends, and the cause you devoted your life to. Yet Mandela refused to give in to bitterness. Instead, he used this time to reflect, study, and prepare for the future. What happened when Mandela was released? In 1990, after growing international pressure and decades of resistance within South Africa, the apartheid regime began to crumble. Mandela was released from prison at the age of 71, walking out with his head held high and his resolve unbroken. His release was celebrated worldwide, but the road ahead was still uncertain. South Africa was on the brink of civil war, with deep divisions between its people. Mandela's greatest achievement wasn't just ending apartheid, it was the way he ended it. Instead of seeking revenge, he chose reconciliation. Imagine this. After nearly 3 decades in prison, wouldn't you want justice or even retribution? Mandela didn't. He understood that healing a nation required forgiveness and unity. As South Africa's first black president, elected in 1994, Mandela led with a vision of equality and peace. He established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where victims of apartheid could share their stories and perpetrators could confess their crimes. It wasn't perfect, but it allowed the nation to confront its painful past and begin to move forward. Was Mandela perfect? Of course not. Mandela himself admitted that he was no saint. He was a politician, and like all leaders, he faced criticism for some of his decisions. Economic inequality in South Africa remains a challenge to this day, and his presidency couldn't solve every problem the country faced. But what sets Mandela apart is his humility and his willingness to prioritize the greater good over personal power. Mandela passed away in 2013, but his legacy endures. Today, his name is synonymous with courage, forgiveness, and the belief that one person truly can make a difference.